Welcome back everybody. Guess what? Got another tent. So although this is a model that's been around for a while, you won't have seen this variation of it. As far as I know, there's not a single review on YouTube. It's a tent I had before, believe it or not. And it's the one I think they call their little Wind King. It's a Svalbard PU, but this is the difference. It's version 2. Wow, that's 2.6 kilos. It shouldn't be anywhere near that. We'll have to get some of the stuff out of it. The stuff sack itself seems pretty heavy, but actually I think partly what's contributing to that is this fairly chunky instruction leaflet. I've also got a couple of tabs on here to untie, which I won't need again. We'll get rid of them. With the biggest repair patch you've ever seen in your life. And it's the ripstop nylon. That in itself weighs quite a bit. Let's have a wee look at the poles. There we go. Nordisk branded, presumably just 7001 aluminium, fairly chunky. I think they're about 8.5, 9 mils. Those red ones actually look almost like 10s, to be honest. I'm not sure. Them as well, and a tube repair pole. So I actually bought this tent with my own money, and I should probably just say that just now, but I'm actually quite impressed with the Nordisk quality. Just the detailing on it is nice. These pegs are very long and look that they would really take well in soft ground and take a lot of stress. In their own right, they're actually quite light. I wasn't expecting such a good peg. I also like these carabiner guy lines, so you can actually detach the guy completely and store it away. Why it's done that way I don't know yet, but I like the idea of being able to take them off. Seems to be 11 of these pegs. They're a Y section as well. And a little peg bag, just double stitched at the bottom, or double thickness at the bottom I should say. So everything feels very robust, but obviously it's polyester, so it's fairly hefty. Net weight about 2.2 kilos, 100% polyester, water column 3000 mils on the fly sheet. And I believe on the ground sheet it is 8,000 mils. There is no sill nylon version yet, so I don't know if they're experimenting with this new design, see how it sells, and then they'll bring out the sill nylon version. So I'm a wee bit of a guinea pig here, and I've got nothing to go on. Nobody else seems to have one, and I haven't seen a single thing on YouTube. So without further ado, let's get out of the garden, let's get it up and get a wee look at it. Clip and sleeve system a la Hilleberg, Nortent, etc. What's quite surprising about it when I look at it now is just the sheer size of it. It looks quite tall and a lot bigger than I expected. This is the first time that Nordisk have released this with an exoskeleton, and that was one of the main reasons I didn't like it as an inner first pitch. It looks way bigger in the flesh than I expected. I don't know why, I just remember the old one as seeming a lot smaller, but maybe it wasn't. Guy line retainers as well, which is a nice feature. So just using a little spring toggle as normal. But it's nice to be able to tuck those away without any hassle. The guy runners themselves are actually metal and Nordisk branded. So maybe not so kind on your bare hands in the winter, but certainly robust. Nothing can go wrong with them, which I quite like. You can see it there, and it looks to be reflective. The rear vent is also stiffened, so there's a, I don't know, plastic tube, probably. I don't think it's wire, no, it's not malleable, but it keeps that vent nice and open at the back. And on the front vent, again, you've got a stiffener running all the way through, which looks pretty robust again, and a 3-point contact guy line. A wee bit again, like if you look like, say, a Namach from Hilleberg or something like that, that's a typical way of tying up the vents. So you've got 3 stress points going to a single ring, and then a single guy line running off that, and again with a little line retainer with the toggle. And to take the stress off the fly sheet for the gang point, you can loop it round the poles, and then it looks like I just attached the carabiner to the tape. One thing I've noticed, it's short of 2 pegs. I'll check the numbers and the stats for it and see if it's actually short and I'm just unlucky, or whether you would need to bring another 2. But effectively, those weird guys at the moment, I haven't pegged them out the way. I've just put them to the back, one at the back there just now. The polyester reminds me a lot of the MSR Tin Time series, both in colour and weight. So it ain't the lightest, but then the trade-off with that is yes, you've got a bit more weight, but it's much more stable in the wet. It doesn't stretch like silk nylon. They've also changed the fly sheet design. They said they've sculpted away part of the fly at the bottom to increase the ventilation slightly. But to be fair, even on short grass like this, it doesn't look as if it sits too high, which I like. I don't really like too much area for water, snow, etc. to get in. So this is one of 2 tents that I've used that I never actually kept, believe it or not. And one of the main reasons on the first version of this was the door, which unzipped from here, I remember, and then came back to here, and you were supposed to stash the door in a side pocket. There was no tyre to hold it back, and it just fell out, especially in silk nylon. It just wouldn't stay in, and I thought, what a really bad design, and it put me right off the tent. And then this rolls back to this tyre here, which I'm pleased to say is elastic. That's a bugbear of mine, and I'm really pleased that this has actually got elastic and a toggle. You can see it there, it's a fairly big toggle and it's a metal ring. This is a big difference in the design as well. The zip, instead of just coming up to the end of the door, goes right round to here. And the whole reason being is that you can roll up the whole front of the tent and just have the inner sticking out, so you can star watch or vent it. And the same also goes for the rear, apparently. You can do the same, so you can roll up the rear to the pole point. Lip pullers are not luminous, but actually really nice wee design. Even to the point of having the little Nordisk bear with a silver edge on it. Just nice detailing. More to the point, these are colour coded, so these are red up here to allow you, I think, just to orientate the inner. I don't remember what the attachments between the inner and the outer were in the original, but they're basically silicone rings. Just silicone rubber bands and a little plastic hoop. This connector here, I think, is for when you roll the whole outer back, and you can clip this over the pole to hold it. And then you can just tighten up the inner. You can see the red colour coding here. You notice the offset inner here, which is quite long at one end, but only gives you half the vestibule at the moment for pack storage and cooking. But you could unclip here and just roll the tent back to get into it. Pleasantly surprised by how taut it is. Actually, there's a lot of adjustment all round and all the different straps. When I remember the old silk nylon one I had, the inner seemed a bit of a saggy mess to me, to be honest. It wasn't brilliant, and I'm sure I tensioned it. But anyway, yeah, this looks good. The materials are very heavy duty, so if you look at the ground sheet, it reminds me of a Mac pack ground sheet. It's really heavy denier, so I'll not bother using a footprint with this and try and save a bit of weight on it. Tuck the door into its pocket here, and I'll just show you a couple of the other pockets. So internally you have a pocket either side of your shoulders. It's actually quite a deep one, this, so it will take quite a lot of stuff. And the same on the other side. I'm sitting at the door here, there's another mesh one here, so you could tuck some glasses. Ideally, I think what I put in here is a head torch, and that means I can just light up my area for cooking and reading, etc. Is a drying line. Again, basically just a duplicate of the guy line, I think, and the same metal runner inside, and a couple of other loops here and there where you could run. I'll just check and see if there's one at the back here actually as well to match this, so you can run another line or a lantern hook or whatever. Attachment point here, and then this is all mesh here, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think if I was using it into the kind of snow season, I'd probably want to close that off in some way. I'll be able to zip it off. So it might be a wee bit drafty, but we'll not know till we try it. And as you can see, it's a diagonal kind of vestibule. Again, this takes me back to Mac Pack. It's a bit like the minaret. The minaret has an offset inner, and then this kind of triangular vestibule, but you can unclip here, just pull this back a wee bit like a Hilleberg, and just store more gear or cook in the morning. You could actually, that's probably enough for a medium-sized pack actually, and your boots on top, but I will probably store gear inside. Above you at the front, you've got the main vent here is midgy bug mesh covered, but you cannot close it either, you can't seal it. So at the front door, you can completely seal it and keep the heat in, or you've got a full Full mesh option as well, just to let a little more air through when it's as warm as it is today. We must be nearly. And the zips run really freely. I'm 5'8" and I'm not on a thermarest as yet, but that's a fairly generous amount of headroom in there. So that's a thermarest, Neo Air X Therm in, and foot space, yeah, okay. No chance of touching the outer, I think, but the inner narrows down quite a wee bit. There's just a few inches of foot space there, but I don't think it would get your bag wet. You do have to use it offset so your mat sits at an angle. 40 litre Osprey Levity fits in there fine. So I'm on the mat, rucksack to the side, plenty of room, so that's doable. You can get that out of the way and that frees up this room to cook, which is fine. One disappointing detail is there is no two-way zip above me here, so you cannot, try and swing it around, you cannot vent it from the top, despite the fact it's a very long zip. So you can roll back and clip back the fly sheet at the front and the back, but the only thing is on the inner here, there doesn't appear to be a corresponding pegging loop. What they should have done was probably sewn a loop there, so you could then use your peg to tie this there. But that seems like, again, a wee bit of a design oversight. They should have probably thought a bit more about that. What I do like though is that you can pin back the door even further, so you can take the zip back to its furthest extent and then just tie it off at the second point at the front of the vestibule, and it just gives you a lot more access, a lot more space in the summer. So there you go, I hope that's been useful. A first look at the Nordisk Svalbard Part 2, second version, whatever you want to call it, 2.0. It has an exoskeleton pole frame, and that was the big seller to me. We're probably fairly comparable to the Wild Country Helm 1, which is one of the other things I would think is probably a major rival. Both round about the £200 mark, and both probably quite similar in space and capability and high winds, and being able to use it into 4 seasons. So I hope you've enjoyed having a wee look around this. I'm going to take it out tomorrow and try it in the hills, and we'll see how we get on properly with it. I think we'll get a wee bit of a mixed bag of warm weather, possibly some thundery showers and some high winds initially. So it's probably ideal just to get a bit of feel for it. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll report back once I've done this first trip test. But thank you again for watching. Cheers.